Now the second chord is going to be a G minor 11 chord. Remember the first time on the sixth chord we played a G11. But for our rootless chord voicing, meaning that we're not going to have a bass in the root, we're going to play a G minor 11 chord. That's my left hand voicing. Okay, in the right hand voicing, we're going to have an F major triad. So that's the sound. It contemporizes the whole flavor. This is how you hear all these sounds that are maybe foreign to the ear, because we're using more notes and we're stacking them different. And as time evolves, you know, we replace some of our standard chords with more modernized contemporary versions. So again, if I played my E flat major 9, then I go to my G minor 11 chord. Okay. And keep in mind, we don't have to play the E flat in the bass. We can just really omit that, okay, and go into the next voice in here, okay. And then our B flat chord, ironically, we can play the same chord that we used on the G, on the E flat, excuse me, on the G minor 11 chord. Instead of playing the G in the bass, we'll play the B flat in the bass. And now we have a nice, beautiful chord voicing that we can use to substitute for that B flat major 9 chord that we use. So if we put all that together, that would be the E flat major 9, that would be the G minor 11 chord, okay? And then we go back to that E flat major 9, then we'll go to our B flat rootless chord, okay? Now, see, theoretically, that E flat did not have a rootless, the E flat major 9 that we just used did not have a root in it. Excuse me, it did have the root in it. Okay, but here again, you don't have to play that because the bass player is playing that. So let's play it with the track and kind of get a concept for how that sounds with the actual track. Here we go. And I'll let that play through, going to the 4, and then to the 1. Now let me add my chords here. Here's the 4, and here's my 6. And here's my 4, and here's my 1. Back to the 4 again. Okay, to my 6, and then to my 1. Okay, so that's the one application for some chords, just to get another sound. So there are some other chords that we want to use to really contemporize it even more. When we listen to the track, there are some beautiful voicings that are going on, and we want to be able to make it more authentic, play more of the content of the track that we're listening to. So let's kind of listen to it again, and I'm gonna play this next set of changes also with it, with the track. So again, I'll play along top of the track.
Though you may be dealing with some trials and tribulations, always remember that God is right there by your side. This is what he said.
Again, 4 to the 6, back to the 1, again to the 4, and to the 6, back to the 4, then back to the 1. Okay, so good. So there are some other things that are going on in the track. Okay, so let's just take this another step further. Okay, we got our rootless voices. The first time we played this E flat major 7 with L, we played E flat in the root. But this time we're going to do another optional chord. We're going to do an E flat major 13 chord. So absolutely a rootless chord, because we will not be playing the E flat in the root. So let's do this E flat major 13, and it's also written out there for you on your Facebook wall. If you look at it, the chords are there. But let me play them for you. You can see them also displayed on the screen. Okay, that's an E flat major 13 chord, but it's rootless. I mean, it contains no root, because the bass player will be playing the E flat. Okay, and the next chord will still use that same G minor 11. Okay, but there are going to be some other passing chords that we're going to use to get us to those chords. So, and here's a beautiful one. It's a G13 with a sharp 11. And we won't get off into the theory of why it's called a G13 with a sharp 11. But here again, it's rootless because we're not playing the G in the root. We're playing the upper voice. The G would be the root, and the bass player would normally play that. In a lot of cases, some alternate tritone of that note. But the right hand we're we're playing, this is the G13 sharp 11. And you can hear it with the G in there, that's the chord, but without the G. And then we're going to that E flat major 13. So we're going to have this sound here. And that's just going to be a passing chord to get us to the G flat major 13. Okay? So, and then we're going back to the next chord, which is that G minor 11, then back to that little, the G13 sharp 11. So you got to kind of practice this together. G13 sharp 11 to the E flat major 13. Now we got another chord that we're going to use to get us to the G minor 11, another passing chord, and it's going to be a D7 with a sharp 9, sharp 5 chord. Okay, and we're actually playing a tritone here. And let's kind of look at this chord for a second. Here's the D in the root. Okay. And then that's the third of D, which is the F sharp, and that's the flat 7. Okay, now if we lose the D, we got an F sharp and a C, which is the tritone of D. We'll talk about tritones later on. I got a few articles out there on my other website that discuss this, and we'll eventually get into a course that will talk about tritones in detail. Because even when we first played that G13 sharp 11, that F and that B, if I drop the G, you got the tritone of G. Of that G dominant chord, you got an F and a B. That's a tritone. And then we got this F sharp and the C, which is another tritone of D. Okay, but we're going to, tritones, we play those without a root, so they're rootless. So every tritone comes from some dominant 7 chord. So when you look at it, that's a D7 chord. Okay, D, F sharp, A, and C. But if we take the tritone from that chord, we're going to keep the third and the flat 7 and lose everything else, okay, which gives us that tritone, just like the other chord we did. So here we go. So this is the tritone that we're going to use for our D7 sharp 9 sharp 5 chord, which will take us to, as a passing chord, to our G minor 11 chord. So here's the sound again. So that gives us an option. Now we can play this. We can play this this E, this 4 chord. Okay, I'm gonna just call it the 4 chord. We can play it. Okay, then we go to our G minor 11 chord. Okay, the 4 chord. 2, 3, 4. Then we go back to the 1 chord. Then with 4 chord, now we're gonna do our tritone. That little passing chord. That's the 4. Dun, dun, dun. See what just happened there? So we did that D7 sharp 9 going to that G minor 11 chord. And notice that I have my tritone of D in the root, and I got just a B flat triad in the right hand, a B flat DL. So we got a tritone here, and we call these polychords also because it's kind of like we're using 2 chords, almost like that D7 chord over a B flat major chord. So we're actually calling, we combine the 2 chords to get that sound, but theoretically the chord name is D7 sharp 9 sharp 5. Once we analyze that chord, those are the alterations that we use. And so that means that we can play this B flat triad in any inversion. So we can do it here. Again. Okay, or you can do it here. Okay, so we put all that together. Let's go to that 4 chord, but let's do the passing chord first. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2. Then we're going back to the 1 chord. 2, 3, 2, 3. Now let's do that with the track just to get an idea. And these are some of the other flavors that you're hearing in the track. Man, what are they playing? What are they using? Well, they're using rootless chord voices. If you're not using those and they're not in your vocabulary, this is a great time to start learning them. Not just for this song, for every song that we're going to need to know those voices. They're very common in contemporary gospel music and contemporary pop and R&B and neo soul. So let me back up and let's kind of add the track to it, and it'll make sense. Okay. Okay. Now here we go, passing chord right here. Now back to the 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. again. So that gives you that real fresh contemporary sound. It gives you that smooth jazz flavor. Beautiful chords that it's just so many ways you can use them. Anytime you're going from a 4 to a 6, whenever that song shows up in the progression, you can use that G13 sharp 11 as a passing chord going to the 4. You can use the D7 sharp 9 sharp 5 as passing on. This is the beauty of using tritones and polychords to get this urban sound that you're listening to, and maybe can't quite figure it out because you got to open up your hands. You got to use a lot more than just a bass note in the left hand. You got to use a lot of full body chords in your left hand to get that sound. So